you don't have to do one thing to be successful. You just have to be really good at it. You can't half-ass something. People want their bags to be pumped in crypto, and we have mechanics built in to do that. I can't give you those numbers.
That's too much alpha, right? Okay.
That sounds like financial advice, yeah. Hey, why are you not upgrading your Moki? I have your card. Your Moki sucks. You should upgrade your Moki.
And I unfollowed you next, right?
Yeah. If you don't generate demand for what you're doing, then it's already going to fail.
How do you think about sustainability in the long run?
When I look at the space, there's only one real way to make money. And that way is to...
Today, we have Hantao, co-founder of Moku. He built one of the largest IPs in the Web3 gaming, which started as a guild, evolved into a full distribution platform, and now he's launching a grand arena. Before diving into Web3, Hantao sold his own esports team, and today he's known for dropping real alpha and some of the controversial takes on X. Under his leadership, Moku became one of the strongest and most engaged gaming communities in the space. So, Hantao, welcome to the Locked In podcast.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining. So, I want to ask you at the start, like, since I played League of Legends competitively as well, like, how difficult was to manage the team? And, like, I want to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So... esports team, it was only Fortnite and Valorant, but when I was in college, we had a collegiate League of Legends team that won 2 years in a row at UBC, and I didn't directly manage it. It was somebody called Carmen, but for the esports side, managing a team is kind of just like babysitting, except they have a lot of money sometimes.
Yeah, but I guess the players within are like more interested in like winning than the money itself, so it becomes a little bit harder, I assume.
I don't think so, because money's always part of it, right? Because you see a lot of Fortnite players actually moved over to do meme coins and prediction markets. Like Orangey was a Fortnite player, right?
Oh yeah, I saw, yeah.
There's like Scented, Mega, and then there's like a lot of Fortnite players that are turned into meme coin people. So yeah, I would say it's like, yeah, money's definitely still a factor.
Okay, nice. So you also have a YouTube channel, but you stopped doing stuff there and you fully transitioned to X. What's the reason that you stopped doing content on YouTube?
Yeah, I think the risk versus time is not there, or reward versus time, I should say. I think the main thing is like there's so much content in cycle 1 from YouTube and Twitch, right? Like actually there's a lot of streamers that grew because of it. But what we saw was because of SocialFi and like people spending money, a lot of the capital went to Twitter, right? So it's much more rewarding. Like the time you could spend editing videos, posting videos, doing hashtags, things, you get like a couple of thousand views, right? And if you get a couple of thousand views on Twitter, you can actually monetize it.
Yeah, I realized that by myself, and I kind of leaned towards that direction more as well. So let's deep dive into the Moku. Can you explain, give some info at the start?
Yeah, so we've been building Moku. There's 2 other co-founders, Bruce and Akil, and myself. We've been building Moku since 2021. It was Naxi Guild back then. And then we decided to raise some capital because we saw the guild model and we were like, holy shit, this is not going to go well long term, right? And then when we talked to investors, everybody was just like, how much game assets do you have in your treasury, right? It was like literally how many gaming NFTs do you have and what is the value of that? And that's what they base their investments in. I was like, that sounds crazy to me. that like you would never raise money for a company that holds like Counter-Strike skins, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so when we started seeing that, we're like, oh yeah, let's just build some products because the guild space is really weird. And as predicted, guilds just went downhill completely and everybody pivoted out of guilds. Um, and then after that, we've just been building products for the last 4 years. We built a questing platform that published every game on Ronin before permissionless Ronin came, and we helped a lot of games outside of Ronin as well, primarily games, also projects like CyberKong's, their NFT mints, and yeah, so just like been very product orientated and building cool experiences for people in crypto. And now we're building Grand Arena.
Yeah, and you launched NFTs in 2021, right? Or later,
No,
right?
NFTs actually just over a year ago.
Oh,
So it's
over a
only been a
year.
year.
The time is going fast. Yeah. So, and they launched at like 55 run, right? They're now like floor is around 400, which is nice. Like, what was the inspiration like for you to create NFT collection?
So we actually started publishing games a couple years ago, and everybody was always like, oh, do you want to give your community some whitelist spots? Do you want to give your community some upside for tokens or something else, right? And we never had anything on chain at that time because we were always like helping facilitate games and giving out their rewards. So we never really had anything. And then we're like, okay, we need a way to accrue value to our community. And then we also need a way for people to own something that they like as well. So that's why we decided on Moku NFTs.
Oh, nice. And what's like until this day, what was like the biggest struggle for you while building Moku?
I think it's the constant market macro, because like there's stuff that you can control in terms of building your product, right? There's like you can cut or spend more money. You can raise more money. You can raise funding through mints and things like that. I think the two biggest issues is macro. So one, which is the market, like right now, Bitcoin, touched briefly under 100K, and then now it's like up a little bit. But there's like 6 black swan events probably already that's happened while being in this space, right? FTX, Luna, USDC depegging. There's like so many events that could have just wiped people out. And then the second thing as well, I would say, is I think just how poorly people who raise capital in this space have done, because Web3 gaming has gotten such a bad reputation because of those people.
Yeah, and it's everything kind of determined with the price action, and everybody tries to launch as at the best time, and the best time that kind of doesn't exist, right? So it's a struggle. So you were like the first to introduce like the no lose raffle, right? And this is how you launched this time as well. What's like the reason like for that? Is it like to measure a demand? Is it like to give like equal odds for everyone within the community? What's like the main reason?
So at that time, it's funny because NFTs were doing poorly as well, right? People were like, oh, NFTs are over. That's when like meme coins started kind of taking off, right? Everybody's like, oh yeah, NFTs are boring. I don't know why I have these things. And so people are already capitulating, right? And I think the main thing is just like, if you just do a whitelist mint, people are going to get complacent, right? They are just not going to care until somebody else does it. And it's always that like first movers right?
Yeah.
So, like even for investment, right? Like one investor has to say yes and be like, okay, I want to
Yeah.
lead this
And then
round.
other jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, because the majority of this space is so hyper financialized that people are like, oh, I don't want to be the one to make the call. I want someone else to make this decision. And if it turns out bad, then it's also their fault, not my fault. Right. So people don't want to own that fault of like, oh shit, I made a bad decision. Right. And because of how kind of that mindset works, if you don't generate demand for what you're doing, then it's already going to fail.
Yeah, and on this way, you feel it's easier to generate demand, and you can measure it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So with a no loss raffle, because it's like, oh, once it's oversubscribed, then everybody else will put money in because they also want it too.
And they're probably like higher odds for people spending money in a second chance than they would if there was no lose raffle before, right? That's also a thing. Like, and how do you think about sustainability in the long run? Because we know this is like kind of the biggest issue in Web3 gaming. Like after the season 1, you are like giving 1 million in rewards. Like, what's the goal for the season 2, season 3?
Yeah, I mean, so when I look at the space, there's only one real way to make money. And that way is to do it through volume.
And
Because
feeds from that volume, right?
correct, yeah. Because in crypto, like you can't run a SaaS company. There's not enough users who pay subscriptions, right? You can't really do a lot of the same things because there's like not as many customers. So you have to go with size, right? Like the average customer has to spend more. And that's kind of how like Binance and Pump Fun, Hyperliquid, how those everybody operates, right? Like exchanges or dexes too, right? You can't really operate a company for just selling like, hey, buy this $50 product. You have to do it based off of volume. So the sustainability just comes from the utilization of that network and the monetization model that exists.
Okay, and you mentioned that Moki holders will receive royalties. Do you have some measures? For example, if somebody bought Moki at the mint, right? What can he expect in terms of ROI? Like, is it like 2 years, 5 years? Is it shorter? And in terms of like upgrading the Moku as well, do you have some metrics regarding that or no?
I can't give you those numbers.
That's too much alpha, right? Okay.
That sounds like financial advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned the importance of like having the seamless experience in Web3. And for example, when users are like spending gems within the game, they won't need to approve transactions if they're connected with the hardware wallet, which is like a huge advantage. Do you feel that like many games in Web3 fail at that aspect, or?
I mean, well, there's the first truth, which is I don't think any game will be only on chain. What I mean by that is like every Web3 game has a Web2 component. And that Web2 component is typically a front end. And a front end just makes call functions. Like when you do a coin flip, for example, right? You see the cool graphics, you approve on the wallet. Like those are all things that are done on a front end. And then the back end is the smart contract, right? So I don't think any real game in crypto will have only on-chain, right? And then, so in terms of creating an experience for users, I don't think that having more transactions and wallet approvals will really do anything for the product. It'll just make it more difficult. Like I was playing this AVAX game way back. It was like, Legends of no, not Illumia. Legends of something. It was like a dungeon crawler, and it was like something like a roguelite. But I had to approve a transaction every time something happened. And it was just like the worst experience ever, right? And so I don't think there's a reason for games to be fully on chain.
Yes, someone made a post on X like where every auto attack you need to approve the transaction. It was super funny to see that. So with the Grand Arena, it has like two components: daily fantasy and AI game. How does those two interact between each other? This is the part that I didn't understood from the white paper.
Yeah, so it's a little complex in terms of how they interact because of the whole ecosystem, but the TLDR is essentially in daily fantasy sports. You bet on a player and you have your own team of squad. They can be on different teams, right? But you choose a different set of players that are in your squad and you get points based on their performance. So where do the points come from? Instead of traditional sports, you have a 24/7 always on game being played by Moku AI. And the daily fantasy side is just utilizing some crypto aspects like collectability of cards, being on chain, etc., to gamify it a bit. But we build some systems in to increase how the flywheel works, quote unquote. But it's essentially just like we have different royalties going to different places in case something happens, and we have different bonuses for people that do more things. So it's just a way to go back to that. Like people want their bags to be pumped in crypto, and we have mechanics built in to do that.
Yeah, nice. And do you have some ratio in terms of like price pool? How much will go to ones and how much to the other?
We do have ratios. I mean, it's like 50% goes to a prize pool or like a certain percentage. It really depends on where it's coming from. But yeah, there's a percentage from different places that go to like the club owners, who's the guild owner. It goes to the champion Moku, goes to the prize pool, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to where money flows.
Okay, and in terms like for the AI arena, I'm interested since you mentioned like there will be different like time frames in which you're gonna need to kind of like enter the arena, right? Like 2 hours, 4 hours. That's what you mentioned. Like, how do you prevent like botting? Will there be like some daily limits in order so somebody doesn't have like every 2 hours or like 12 entries in comparison to somebody that is maybe not that active in terms of like making advantage and balancing this stuff?
So in terms of the training for Mokis, which is called Moku Manager, you will be able to train your Moku for a set period of time. Now, how do we prevent botting? I mean, it really depends on the users and players' playstyle. Because if you're like, hey, I'm going to wake up every 2 hours to train my Moku, okay, you can do that, right? But you can also be like, oh, I got to go do something. So I need to sleep. So I'm going to train my Moku for 8 hours. So it's kind of up to you of how you want to manage that. And like people will probably use automations, but they're only optimizing for like a few percentage.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's good to find balance because I found this is one of the things that sometimes disincentivize people. So I think it's good what you said. So yeah, you also mentioned like the importance of respecting like people's money. So you mentioned that like people, the levels and experience will remain through the season one, will remain through the race packing. So can you deep dive into it and like elaborate a bit on the topic?
Yeah, so I think the worst feeling is when you try to do something and it's out of your control, right? Like if you spend $100 on a product, you want to make sure that it's worth that amount of money, right? And the worst feeling is, for let's say, for example, right? I bought a electric vehicle, right? And then Elon Musk or something is like, oh, by the way, you have to pay $500 a month for you to be able to drive your vehicle, right? That'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, kind of unexpected additional cost, or you hear from your neighbor that he bought it from the same store. Yeah, so yeah, and so currently you can see like really like solid volume in terms of NFTs. You saw a good volume for a no-loss Raffle. Like, what's like the metrics that you're gonna look mainly like once you launch to say, okay, we are on a good track? Like, is it retention of the players, onboarding new ones, or
Daily volume?
Daily volume again. Okay, makes sense. Regarding social impact of gameplay, you mentioned that people will know who they play against. So do you think this will help with onboarding new users, increasing retention and this stuff? And this is like the reason why I implemented that mechanic?
Yeah, so I think the games that do really well long term are social games, right? Like if you look at virality, right, there's like two main buckets. The one bucket is like your Black Myth Wukong, where you just spend a buttload of money developing and a buttload of money marketing it. And then everybody's like, wow, this is such a great game. The story's there, the graphics are there, the mechanics are there. And then there are other games which are like really shit, like I don't remember that space game, like Lethal Company, right? And then like Among Us, like they're not the best games created, but they're very social, right? And the social games tend to last a lot longer because you can play with other people, you can compete with other people. And the element of the way that we are doing it is because people in crypto care about their bags. We want people to care about their bags. And so because of that, adding in some elements where like, oh, if I do this thing, I can pump my own bag, but other people also get a benefit too. So just having those mechanics in and also being able to like, hey, why are you not upgrading your Moki? I have your card. Your Moki sucks. You should upgrade your Moki.
And I unfollowed you next, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so since you're someone that is like super crypto native, like did you build your X in this way to create like the reputation and the branding that you currently have? Did you know like initially that you're gonna build the Moki in this way and you built in this way intentionally, or was it spontaneous?
I think probably because of certain things. I wouldn't say it's like spontaneous, but it's hard to control who like follows you or not, right? I would say the first major moment when I went from like 400 followers to like a couple thousand was when I would join Store Gaming, because they were like Call of Duty clan. And then I would say the first pump was probably when I had my own team called Evade. And then I would think that brought me up to like 40 or so, 50. And then once I got into crypto, I think it was Axie back then, and publishing games that like pumped me over to like over 70. So I wouldn't say it's like random, but it was definitely moments of activity when people care about certain things and you talk about those things.
Oh, so I didn't know that you're on X since before the Web3. That's interesting. Yeah, long time. Usually, like from whoever I heard, they usually create X once they join, or even a bit later. So you also like manage to like create great team. Like your Discord is super active. You organize events. Like you have one of the most active Discords. Pretty much. Like, what's your approach like in terms of like gathering people around you? I heard also like during your Web2 career, you also managed to like have a lot of audience and people around you that are great. So
Yeah. I think one of the toughest lessons to learn is, I don't know if it's like the right word, but like how you socialize with people. And what that means is everybody is a person, right? They're not just random things online. And all of them have their own struggles in life, right? All of them, maybe like their family or cousin is sick, right? Maybe they're going through some really bad trauma, right? Maybe they had a really fucked up childhood. Maybe, a lot of things happen in your daily life and everybody's just has that. And I think being online is kind of a weird way for them to express themselves, but also find people that just take away from that, obfuscates that experience, right? Of like, oh shit, I don't like working a 9 to 5 job at a company that doesn't appreciate me or something, And so everybody is just a person living their life, and they just want to be somewhere where they can have fun or they can relate to. And I would say the other thing is you also need to keep in mind that aspect and understanding like limits as well, right? It's like if you go too far, somebody who's really pissed off all the time is going to take it more offensively.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So just understanding that fine line between having fun and also like relatability, and where a space where people can just relax and be part of, I think is what helps grow communities.
And you're too humble. You try to help me as well in few occasions, so I appreciate it. Really nice of you. And I think like whenever I message you, reply within like hour or few hours, which is also appreciated. But this is not like for everyone to message you. Please don't do that. So also like what do you think currently like is the biggest opportunity? Let's say if you're like starting with zero money, what's currently for people like the biggest opportunity? Is it like posting on X, finding the job? I think this some of this stuff is like kind of underutilized, and everybody thinks that they need to like do futures trading or like invest into some meme coin that will go 100x. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the beauty of it is what you just mentioned. You listed off like 5 different things that you could do in this space, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. It's like you don't have to do one thing to be successful. You just have to be really good at it. You can't half-ass something, right? So you can't be like, oh, I'm partially a futures trader, and then you just get liquidated all the time, right? You can't be like a partial creator. You're trying or you're not trying. So I think the first thing is you have to put effort and be good at what you're doing. To answer your question specifically on like what I think is the easiest, personal opinion, it would definitely just be Twitter, like being a voice on Twitter, because if you look at it, it's like there's like Kaido, Zeet, Wall Chain, Cookie. There's like so many yapping things, and it's free. It just takes time. And you can engage with people on the top of the leaderboard. You can get them to follow you back. You can start posting opinions. And so if you try hardest at that, it's like the most highest reward with the lowest risk.
Makes sense. in Web3 gaming, a lot of people care about ownership. How do you think like we can make the Web2 gamers, regular gamers, start caring about that as well? Because I know, for example, I left my League of Legends account, I left my Hearthstone account with like tons of like early skins that were like, I don't know how much they're worth, but I wasn't able to do anything with them. So what are your thoughts on onboarding Web2 games, or making people care more about the ownership?
I don't think people care about ownership.
Even if they have some account which have tons of skins that they could sell, at least in these cases it's like opportunity to.
Yeah, I don't think people care about ownership.
Oh, really?
Ownership only matters if the game is relevant. Like, for example, I have a lot of Path of Exile items in game. Does that mean I'm rich for holding it? No, it depends on the game and the developers of that game. And it's the same. And like, I can still sell my items in Web 2, right? So I don't think it's necessarily ownership. How do you bring on board more Web 2 gamers? Now, I think they're just going to be gamers no matter what. Like, they'll just play whatever's good. So at the end of the day, there will be certain games that will go into Web 2 and I think could do well. But the majority of what we see right now is not Web 2 centric games, or what people consider games in crypto. And the reason for that is just because they just make bad games. Like, nobody in Web 2 wants to play fucking tower defense.
Yeah, and often they can change one thing like they did in Counter-Strike, and like the value of your assets drops. Even if there is a demand for the game, it doesn't necessarily needs to mean that there will be for the items and these stuff. So yeah, I understand your point. I realized through my content that people care more about earnings, that they care about the games itself. The thing that founders in Web3 are aware of that. Obviously, some of them are, but for the majority, the thing they're aware of like the interest in like speculation rather than the gaming.
I think they're aware. I think that they just don't have a way to figure out how to balance that. Like, Luke is probably the closest from Pixels. But yeah, I just think people don't really understand. Like, they know about it, but they just build products that don't include it, right? Or don't balance it in a good way. So
yeah, I saw Luke posting about like the revenue and the ratios, about like how much it takes to make it profitable, and it's close at least when I saw that. The launch of Moku Grand Arena is on 10th November, right?
That'll be phase 1, which is the preseason of Grand Arena. Yeah, and in that, just people who are Moki owners are able to participate, train their Mokis, upgrade their stats, see their performance, and compete for a champion slot.
Nice. And at one point, do you intend to launch a token or no?
Yeah, but depends on the product, I guess.
Okay, so you decided like to stay on Ronin and keep building on Ronin. Like the price of Ronin, there is a lot of people like speaking about it. Like, what are your thoughts about like currently what's the biggest issue of the Ronin network?
I think every network has the same problems, which is always like everybody needs players and users for their chain, right? Every chain needs the applications, the products on that chain to do well. I think the only difference is obviously the majority of people on Ronin are used to certain style of products, which are like play to earn games versus DeFi, right? Like Merkle rewards didn't really do that much for the chain. There's not really that much DeFi, and it's more gaming centric, right? So I think it's more like who are the users on the chain? Like, for example, a lot of people are fudding abstract right now.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and then AVAX, everybody's complaining about how they were supporting some like Danielle coin and not their native builders, right? And the meme coins on abstract are already dead, or not abstract. Sorry, Avalanche. So like, all the chains are the same, right? But the apps on those chains will define the usage, like Polymarket, for example, or Hyperliquid.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I had one thought like about the sustainability aspect, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that. Like, I think when in many of the cases, like when people are withdrawing assets in comparison to reinvesting the assets, I believe like they should, like what Football.fun did, they imposed like relatively high fees if you're selling. Do you think that's the right approach? Because I think like if you impose like much higher fees to the people that are selling and withdrawing the assets from the play to earn model in comparison to the people that they're reinvesting, maybe people would at least stay longer.
Do people still talk about Football.fun?
I see some people do, yeah, but not as much as they did initially, obviously.
Right. A lot of creators are talking about it and then they stopped, right? So I think the definition of success varies a lot. And at the end of the day, it's just like there's a lot to making a business. The only success that you have, like Virtuals had selling fees, right? Called Virgin Jail.
Yeah,
they try to prevent people from selling. And look what happened, right? At the end of the day, all of these mechanics and things are just part of a bigger ecosystem and network. And the only important thing is literally, does your business make money? And if it does, and it's sustainable, then you can always do other things. So yeah, I'm not like, I don't think any one mechanic by itself is going to solve that issue.
And you think that Web3 is transitioning more towards that model that like the investors and the people in the Web3 space are actually looking, okay, PumpFun is making 1 million of revenue per day. This is what I'm looking for in comparison to somebody that is making zero revenue, right? If you will look during the ICO boom, for example, nobody cared. You could just pitch your white paper and raise money, you know, and I think Web3 is evolving in terms of that. Do you agree with that, or?
I think part of it is people getting smarter. And I think part of it is exhaustion as well, right? It's like, oh, I put in so much money to so many things and none of them really worked out, right? So I think it's partial, and it's just people know now to take profits, right? There's not really that much like moon math. There's so much more like, oh, I can do this for free and get money. Why would I spend money?
Yeah, and this is probably like one of the reasons why Bitcoin dominance is like consistently rising. Now it had a small pullback, but it's relatively small to what it was in the past if we look at the chart. So another question like regarding Web3 gaming. I noticed that many gamers are like kinda locked in the ecosystem they are in. So if they start in Ronin, they are only in the Ronin. If they start in Immutable, they're only in Immutable. Like, for example, Abstract that you mentioned, he has like more DGen audience, Solana as well. How do you intend to attract those people into the Moku, if that's goal at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult to get people from other chains, right? But I think the way that we're going to do it is just through payments. You can just use money from any chain. The hardest thing to do is actually to bridge money, because you have a very high chance of losing your money.
Yeah, I realized, for me, I always wondered, for example, if you have a wallet, why you could have, for example, 0 Ethereum. If you have only USDC, you take a loan in Ethereum to pay the fees for swapping, to bridging, and to swap pretty much on the other chains seamlessly. And it's weird to me. Now they're like, you can do that on OpenSea, you can do that, I think, on multiple tools nowadays, but in the past that was pretty much impossible. Did you have some assumptions from the Web2 gaming and creating the team once you transition to the Web3 and building Moku? Some assumptions that you had initially that drastically changed nowadays or from the early days in Moku?
I wouldn't say anything changed drastically. I think when it comes to building a team, it's very difficult until you work with them to know, like, are they a grinder? Are they, how fast do they work? Right? How passionate do they care? So I think just the core traits of people is still the same, irregardless. It's just harder to find good talent in crypto.
Because many of them doesn't come with some previous skills, right?
Yeah, but also because all the good ones, like really, really good ones, probably already know how to make money.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. So you posted today on X, what if Bitcoin price goes to 90K? So what is your outlook on that?
Still very likely. I mean, it already dipped it below 100 today, barely.
And do you expect the continuation of bull market, or you expect?
I don't really care. I think as long as I have enough money to keep buying dips, eventually it'll get better, and I just need to take profit.
Oh, so and your position in both directions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what's your ultimate goal for Moku, for yourself in the future? And yeah.
Yeah, I would say just building good products for crypto. That's the goal.
Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you today that you would like to share, or?
No, it's all good.
Okay. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So looking forward to see the Moku launch preseason and playing it as well, obviously. So thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah,
See ya.
thanks for inviting.